Hello, everyone, and welcome back with Learning with Jelly. Today, we're going to lesson 3, and this lesson is going to be predominantly on dictionaries, which I find, is a variable type that students struggle with the most. So, we're going to really take our time in understanding dictionaries. I highly recommend that before we get started, you open up a blank Jupyter notebook. You pause the video along the way to try typing in some of the examples so that you can actually see what is going on. But before we get into dictionaries, we're going to briefly go over tuples. In our last lesson, we went through lists, and we know list is a collection in Python that is denoted by square brackets. There are different methods that you can do with lists. You can add things to a list, you can add lists together, you can remove items from a list, and you can index lists. Now, list cousin, but I like to consider that they are cousins, are tuples. And tuples cannot be changed. So the fancy adding and removing items from tuples, that does not apply. Tuples are pretty much set in stone. They're surrounded by parentheses, and they can be indexed just like strings and lists. So in this example, we have a tuple can't change. We notice that it's a tuple just because it's surrounded by parentheses, right? And then if we index 0, we know that the 0th index is olive, and it's going to actually print out olive. So this is tuples. So let's look at a couple of common methods for tuples. And there's not many, to be honest, since you can't change them, but you can return a count of the number of items in a tuple, and you can also index them, right? So in the same tuple, I've added olive at the end. I do the tuple.count for olive, and it returns 2 because olive is shown twice in that tuple. So that was our brief overview of tuples. Not too much going on with tuples. Sometimes you'll hear it called tuples, tomatoes, right? I like to call them tuples, but that is tuples. The final collection that we're going to go over is dictionaries, okay? And so the syntax for dictionaries is actually very different compared to lists and tuples, okay? They're denoted by curly braces, but they also have this key value pair. They can be changed, and you can access the values by calling on the key, okay? And I put the keys here in this blue box. So, for instance, I have this dictionary called Pokemon underscore Dict. And in curly braces, I have the key of name. So, this is one key. And then I have the value of Pikachu. Then I have the key of type in the value of electric. So as you can see, the keys and the values are separated by these colons. Okay. So then if I wanted to index this dictionary, I would call on the key name, and it would tell me what value is associated to that key. So in my output, if I do Pokemon underscore Dict, it will give me, in a name, it will give me Pikachu. Okay. So you have these key value pairs in dictionaries, okay? That is very, very distinct and unique to this type of variable. Okay. So let's get diving a little further. We're going to go over the dictionary methods. This is very important. It's important if you want to loop through dictionaries to know what you want to loop through. So please, please, please commit these 3 methods to memory because you will utilize them. So the dot keys method is going to access the keys, right? And we already saw what the keys were on the previous slide. In this example is name and type. It is always on the left-hand side of the colon. Okay. The values is going to return the values associated with the keys. So in this example, that's Pikachu and electric. It's always on the right-hand side of the colon. And items is going to return an array of all of the items, the key value pairs as tuples. Okay. So down here in my print statement, I'm saying print the keys, then print the values, and then print the items. So the keys are name and type, the values are Pikachu and electric, and the items or the pairs are name, Pikachu, type, and electric. Okay. So please know these methods. Okay. You just call this method after you type in the name of the dictionary. So it's Pokemon underscore dict dot keys, Pokemon underscore dict dot values, etc., etc. Okay. So now, since we have these methods, don't forget these. We're going to use these momentarily. We're going to get into some other functions. Okay. So there are three functions that you should know. One is called the zip function. And what it's going to do is assign keys to a list of values. Okay. So in this example here, we're zipping the range of 3, and range just means a range of numbers up to, but not including this number, right? So a range of 3 would be 0, 1, 2, because that is 3 numbers. Okay. It wouldn't be 0, 1, 2, 3. All right. So it's always up to and including that number. So we want to zip 0, 1, 2 as keys to this list of values here, which is track, soccer, and baseball. Okay. So when we do that, it's actually going to have the 0 track, 1 soccer, 2 baseball. Okay. So that is what the zip function paired with the range function is going to do. Now, if we want to create this as a dictionary, that's our dict function. So surrounding all of this on the outside, we have this dict function, and that's actually going to add in these curly braces. Okay. So if you want to change things to a dictionary, a great way to do that is to zip the keys. So you're always going to zip the keys. And then the next argument is going to be the values that you want to zip with the keys. Remember, the keys are always on the left-hand side. Okay, in this case, they're numbers, and the values are always on the right-hand side. So once again, we zip the keys with the values. Okay, so that is the zip, dict, and range functions. So, keeping that in mind, let's go into dictionary comprehensions. Now, in our previous video, we looked at list comprehensions. So, if you want to review that first, which I highly recommend, I'll have a link in the description for that. But dictionary comprehensions are very, very similar to list comprehensions. Okay. It's going to have a function piece. So, the first piece that you're going to see is a function, and it's going to have for KV in iterable. Keep in mind that this word iterable could be any collection. It could be a list. It could be another dictionary. It could be whatever you want it to be. Okay, as long as it's a collection. And then you have an optional if statement. Okay. K and V can be any letters or words. It can be YZ. It could be onion and soup. Okay. So don't let the K and V throw you off. However, the K and V must be the same letters or words that you use in the function. And keep in mind that this dictionary comprehension, once again, since it's a dictionary, is surrounded by curly braces. So in this example here, right, I have the function piece highlighted in red. So we have K colon V dot upper. So this is my dictionary of names. I have this key, I have this value, I have this key and this value. So I'm basically calling to make all of the values uppercase. For KV, which just means key value, in dict underscore names dot items. Remember that method dot items. Dot items is when we want to access both the keys and the values. Okay. So in this case, I'm saying, hey, still return my key, but I want you to return my value in uppercase for all of the keys values in the dictionary that I assigned above, using the dot items, which just means I can access those keys and values. And so what's going to output is the key first, but now the value James is in uppercase, the key last, and now the value Bond is in uppercase. Okay. And it's all surrounded by curly braces. So I would practice this in my Jupyter notebook. You can have any names that you want. Okay. And you can try dot lower. Okay. You can try dot upper for the keys and not for the values. Okay. So really, really practice understanding the syntax. It's always going to be the function and then the 4kv in whatever you want to look at in dict names, which we assigned up here. And I want to look at all of the key value pairs. So I utilize the dot items method. All right, let's look at another example of dictionary comprehensions. Example 2. And this is what I'm changing both the keys and the values, right? So K dot upper and then V dot upper for KV and dict underscore names dot items. So the only thing that changed here from the previous example is this K dot upper piece. Okay. And so now the output, all of the keys and values are going to be in capital letters. Okay. So this is going to be my function piece. The 4K and V dot dict names is going to be my 4K V and iterable piece. Okay. Let's look at another example. Example 3. Okay. And this is going back to utilizing that zip function to get you used to that. But I have ID dot ticket number for ID ticket number in zip. So I'm zipping a range of keys. So the keys that I want is 0, 1, and 2 in a range of 0 to 15, but you want to step by 5. So this range is start is the first argument, stop is the next argument, and then your step is your last argument. So I want to start at 0, end at 15, step by 5. Okay. So I want to zip a range of keys. So these are my keys and my outputs 0, 1, 2. And then the values associated with that, I want to start at 0, end at 15, and go up every 5. Pretty much count by 5s. So my values are going to be 0, 5, 10. Okay. And this is for ID and ticket number. So I didn't initialize anything before this. This piece right here gives me all of the numbers that I need. Okay. I'm just referring to the first numbers or my keys being the ID. Okay. And the second number being the ticket number. So maybe I want to do a random raffle for certain employee IDs, and then I just want to assign them a ticket number. Okay. So this one may be a little bit more complicated to digest, but practice using this zip function in your Python shell or your Jupyter notebook. Okay. Have the first argument your keys that you want, and then have the second argument your list of values. Okay. So moving on, let's see another example. Okay. So, say for instance, here I have a list. I know that it's a list because it has square brackets. And at the end of this list, I want to, not at the end, after each key in this list, I want to assign it a value of princess. Okay. So I'm going to say princess, princess. Okay. For princess and princesses. And so this turns it into a dictionary, and every value is princess for all of my princesses. Okay. Let's move on to dictionary of dictionaries. So you will see a lot of nested collections, okay? And so here in this example, I have a dictionary called Children Pop. Inside that dictionary, I have 2 dictionaries, Disney and DreamWorks, and each one of these dictionaries has their own dictionaries. So I have a dictionary of dictionary of dictionary. Okay. And so if I call on Disney and I call on the key parks and I call on the index 0, it returns Magic Kingdom. Okay. So you can have dictionary of dictionaries, and even inside of these dictionaries, you can have lists. So as you can see, I have some lists within these dictionaries. Practice indexing these dictionaries and being able to follow these dictionaries. Okay. So the 2 main dictionary here are Disney and DreamWorks. Disney has its own values, which are dictionaries themselves, and it's the same for DreamWorks. All right, let's move along to a couple of for loop examples. Okay. So using dictionaries and for loops is very similar to list and for loops. Okay. You can choose if you want to iterate through the keys, values, or both. So once again, going back to those three main methods that we don't want to forget. Okay. So in this example here, and let me get out my pointer. Okay, so in this example one, we're iterating through the keys. So I have a dictionary of salaries and I initiate an empty list. So just like if I wanted to loop through list, same thing for dictionaries, I'm initializing an empty list that I can add things to at the end of my for loop. And I'm saying for K and salaries dot keys, because dot keys is only going to get my keys. I want to append the string ID in a blank space in front of the number because these are my ID values. And then I want to return the ID list. So then I get my string of keys that have my IDs in front of those numbers. Okay. Now I can actually iterate through the values. So I have a bonus list, and I'm saying for V, which is my values in this case, in salaries dot value, I want you to add to this blank list a bonus that is 3% their salary. And when I print out the bonus list, I have 1650, 1860, 1230. And then I can loop through both, right? Which is probably what you'll do a lot of. I have an empty bonus list for my V's, an empty ID list for my keys. And I say for key KV in salary dot item. So that's going to get both of my keys in my value. For the IDs, I want to add ID in front of the Ks. And for the bonus, I want to multiply the values by 0.3. Then I want to zip these up. So remember in zip, the first argument is what I want my keys to be. And the next argument is what I want my values to be. And then I can change this all back into a dictionary. So now I have a dictionary output of each one of my employee IDs and their corresponding bonus amount for the end of the quarter. Okay. So, this is dictionaries. I know that was a lot for us to cover. The main things that you want to focus on is those dot keys, dot values, dot items method that we went over. You want to be able to access and change or loop through dictionaries using dictionary comprehensions or for loops. Practice, practice, practice this in your online Python shell, Jupyter notebook, etc., and just make up your own dictionaries with your own keys and values and try to loop through those things. Okay. Thank you for tuning in with Learning with Jelly. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you have any questions. I'm going to link the video for a list down in the description below. And have a great day. Bye bye.